Boundaries Episode 6 starts now.
Hello, Dena Joe.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good.
Hi,
How
Billy
are
G.
you?
Hi, BBG. Hi, Ms. I'm good, thank you.
All right.
Welcome, everybody.
All right.
Glad
So
to see you all.
Yeah, good to see everyone in here. We're going to start in just a moment. We're waiting on Eric, the producer, here on
D-Block
Boundaries
Mail.
Episode 6.
Hi, Jimmy. If it's my Jimmy, I haven't seen him forever. Nice to see you.
We'll be starting here momentarily. Everyone stand by.
Nice. There's Eric.
Hey, Eric. Jimmy, we're not taking calls at this time, sir. Just stand by. Eric, are you there?
I don't hear him.
Yeah, I'm muted.
There he is.
There he is.
Just sharing the
Hi,
show.
man.
Hello there. All right.
Hi, Cat.
All right, I'm going to play a song real quick just to kind of start the show out. All right, it's called Thoughts Can Become Things. And Dena, keep me on track with the sound if it's too loud.
Yeah, it's a little loud right now.
All right.
But you're going to play a song, so.
When you're
Yeah.
Oh.
before that swallows you up.
All right.
Thank you. Hi, John.
Here we go.
That belief, that real knowing that you can do anything, that there are no limitations. When you begin to learn the great secret, you will soon know that there are no limits.
Hey there,
it's
John.
unlimited what the universe can bring when you understand the great secret that thoughts become things.
Remember back when you were young and you thought you could do anything. Oh, you thought that you could.
How's it sound, Dena? Good?
Good.
All right.
Remember back before the world told you that you were limited. Before the world told you that you were limited. Be careful what you think, 'cause thoughts
Jessica.
become things. Choose what you think about, 'cause you are capable of anything. Choose what you think, 'cause thoughts become things. Be careful what you
Hi, the
wish
good.
for. It's on its way to you. Take your time to learn the secret truth that you can still do anything. You can still do anything, anything. There's no limits to your power. What the universe can bring is unlimited. There's no limits, it's unlimited. Be careful what you think, 'cause thoughts become things. Choose what you think about it. You are capable
Okay, Dena.
Yeah.
That was the song "Thoughts Become Things." So you thinketh, so you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good song. I found this not too long ago. It kind of helps uh, keep your mind in check sometimes. What you
Yeah.
think, what you do. Welcome everybody to Boundaries, Chapter 6. Common boundary
Boundary
myths
myths.
is Chapter
Yes.
6, which is the end, Dena, of Part 1 of Part so 1 through 4, I think. 4 parts. I think it's 4 parts, but
Okay.
nonetheless, this last chapter in Part 1 is Common Boundary Myths, which is really fascinating. When I was reading this, the kind of things that we believe, I guess, uh, aren't always so. How
Absolutely.
was your week, Dena? Pretty good.
It was good so far. Thank you.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, pretty good. I can't complain, to be honest. What about you, Eric? Did you get shepherd
No,
ice
I'm
cream
doing
this
pretty
week?
good. I
Good.
mean, hope
Did you get
everybody's
any shepherd?
doing good as well.
Do you have
No, I
shepherd?
haven't.
All right. Well, let's get started. Well, chapter 6, Common Myth Boundaries. One of the definitions of a myth is a fiction that looks like a truth. Sometimes it sounds so true that Christians will believe it automatically. Some of these myths come from our family backgrounds. Some come from our church or theological foundations. And some come from our own misunderstandings. Whatever the source, prayerfully investigate the following sounds like truths. First one, myth number 1. If I set boundaries,
Hi, Moonfeather.
I'm being selfish. It's very interesting. Well, main objections to boundary settings for Christians, at least, a deep-seated fear of being self-centered, interested only in one's own concerns and not of others.
There you go.
It is
Perfect.
absolutely true that we are to be a loving people, concerned for the welfare of others, in fact. The number one hallmark of Christians is that we love others, it says in John 13:35. So don't boundaries, Dena, turn us from other self-centeredness to self-centeredness?
That's what you would think. I
Yeah,
mean,
you would
that's what
think
I've
that.
always been taught that,
Yeah,
that's,
but
yeah, but it's not. I mean, that's what I'm learning in this book is that no, it's inappropriate boundaries actually increase our ability to care for other people when we are able to set boundaries for ourselves.
exactly.
Yeah.
We got, but yeah, the answer is no. Appropriate boundaries actually increase our abilities to care about other people.
Hmm.
People with highly developed limits are the most caring people on earth. That is very true, actually. My grandma reminds me of that. Um, how can this be true? First, let's make a distinction between selfishness and stewardship. That's pretty key.
Yeah.
Between being selfish and then being a steward. Like selfishness has to do with a fixation on our own wishes and desires to the exclusion of our responsibility to love others. So being selfish is just literally on what I want and my
Hmm.
desires, and it excludes everybody else.
What am I going
Obviously,
to get out
that's
of it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. What am I going to get out of it? That is being selfish. So, um, though having wishes and desires is a God-given trait, Proverbs 13:4 talks about this. We are to keep them in line with healthy goals and responsibilities. For one thing, we may not want what we need. For instance, Mr. Insensitive may desperately need help with the fact that he's a terrible listener, but he may not want it. God is much more interested in meeting our needs than he is granting all of our wishes. Yeah, God's not some genie that'll just give you whatever you ask. You have to, protect the things that he gives you and allows you to have. I lost my spot. For one thing,
You're
we may
right.
not want what we need.
Mhm.
Like in Philippians 4:12-13, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through him who gives me strength.
That's powerful.
That is very powerful.
I wrote, yes, I need to remember this right next
So what
to
is
it
that?
because
Philippians,
you
right?
do. Yeah.
Philippians 4:12 to
4,
13.
12, 13. Yeah.
I was
Something
taught
that
to
I think
go
we
over a
all need to
scripture.
kind of remember that, that
Yes.
how much we have, how much we have to be grateful for, every day.
Amen. It's very true. It's like with this one here, you said it's very, very deep, and
Hi,
like
Miss Dark Bear.
I was taught to actually like to wrestle scripture if you don't understand it, or if you're really trying to get more or truly know its true meaning or what is it saying to you, is to literally stick
Mm-hmm.
with that one scripture and just read it, pray about it. Let me read it one more time. Um, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. That is deep.
It's so powerful. It's something, I don't know. It's just when I read that, it's highlighted and underlined. And it's just it's something, it's
It
just, gosh, you
speaks to you.
just, yeah, it really does.
Well, we can't wait patiently. We can't wait passively for others to take care of us. Um, Basically, our needs are our responsibilities. Our needs are our responsibilities.
Yeah.
And
And that's a hard one to think about, even if you're with somebody and you've always kind of I don't know. I guess I was kind of taught old fashioned, like you need to get married and you have to marry a man, and the man does this and the woman does that. And you know what I mean? And this is
yeah,
the man's
certain.
role and this is the woman's role, and blah, blah, blah. And you shouldn't question it and things like that. This book is just putting all
That takes the
that
heart
to
right out of
rest.
it. It takes the romance right out of the relationship.
I know.
When you
Welcome,
already
Miss
know
Pickleball.
what's going to
Welcome.
happen. There goes the
Yeah.
romance. That's out the door.
Hmm.
Um, well, I'm going to go on to where it says stewardship. So there's a contrast. We got the selfishness, being selfish, understood. What about stewardship? A helpful way to understand setting limits is that our lives are a gift from God. Just as a store manager takes good care of a shop for the owner, we are to do the same with our souls. If lack of boundaries causes us to mismanage the store, you're fired. The owner has the right to be upset. We are to develop our lives, abilities, feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. Our spiritual and emotional growth is God's interest on his investment. Let me say that again. Our spiritual and emotional growth. Our spiritual
And emotional
and
growth.
emotional growth is God's interest. That's beautiful. On
Hmm.
his investment in us. When we say no to people and activities that are harmful to us, we are protecting God's investment. As you can see, there is quite a difference between selfishness and stewardship.
Hmm.
Yeah, this one like really hit home with me. Just the first one. Being, am I being selfish if I set boundaries? You know,
Yeah.
I really like that myth. Well, myth number
And,
2: boundaries are a sign of disobedience. Dina,
right. I
many
just wanted to say
Christians.
what Jimmy
Yeah,
said real quick in the chat. As Jesus once
yeah,
said, the greatest commandment I give to you is this: love thy neighbor as you have loved you. So, wow.
that is right.
Hmm.
Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. John 13:35. That's a good one too.
Hmm.
your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Disciples, the meaning of disciple? It's discipline, basically. I didn't know that.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah, it just means discipline. Those that are disciplined study. So that is I'm being selfish. Boundaries are a sign of disobedience. I'm going to read Hebrews first. Hebrews 4:12. For the word of God is alive and powerful. It is sharper than the sharpest two-edged sword, cutting between soul and spirit, between joint and marrow. It exposes our innermost thoughts and desires. That's Hebrews 4:12. It exposes our innermost thoughts and desires. Hebrews is very deep if you've ever gotten into the Hebrews, but boundaries are a sign of disobedience. Many Christians fear that setting and keeping limits signals rebellion or disobedience. In religious circles, you'll often hear statements such as, your unwillingness to go along with our program shows you have an unresponsive heart. Because of this myth, countless individuals remain trapped in endless activities of no genuine spiritual or emotional value. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
People feel like they have to serve at the church and their heart's not in it because they desire to be elsewhere in the church,
Well,
or maybe not,
Yeah, they're guilted into it. They're guilted into doing something that they don't want to do. So their boundaries are being crossed, and then they're going to be resentful, like we learned the last time. They're going to hold it in and actually be resentful because they end up doing something that really don't want to do because they are afraid to say no.
Okay.
I don't hear you anymore. Oh, there you
Testing.
are.
Yeah, I just got a phone call. I love when
okay.
that happens when you're live and you get a phone call.
That's okay. Well,
Guy
it says
from
the
church,
truth is
actually.
life-changing. A lack of boundaries is often a sign of disobedience. People who have shaky limits are often compliant on the outside, but rebellious and resentful on the inside. They would like to be able to say no, but are afraid. So they cover their fear with half-hearted yeses, as Barry did. Yeah, I used to do that all the time.
Like a bad job. So people who have shaky limits are often compliant on the outside. Yeah. But rebellious and resentful on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
They want to say no, but they're too afraid to.
Yeah.
So they covered their fear with half-hearted yes. Huh. Boundaries are a sign of disobedience. That is a myth. It's not disobedience. Well, we got I think the next page, 110. Motivations, I guess, thoughts and attitudes of the heart. On Hebrews 4:12 was talking about fear. We have fear that we would lose other relationships if we disappointed people. Why is this important? It illustrates a biblical principle. An eternal no nullifies an external yes. I think this kind of got to the core of the whole book in a sense. This
that one sentence.
not the one sentence, but like a biblical principle, right? Yeah, and an eternal no nullifies an external yes. So like the no inside that we don't want to do these things because of fear, and then we get a yes, we're at conflict, right? So we're, I guess in a sense, it's being nullified. That external yes that we say, yes, but we are inside of us is really a no. So
Exactly.
in a sense, they're negating each other. They're nullifying, and it's. How's this music playing? Sorry.
Thank you.
That was dramatic.
And, I know.
That's you're at direct contrast or at odds with yourself. So God is more concerned with our hearts than he is with our outward compliance. For I desire mercy, not sacrifice.
Hi, Jill. Welcome.
And acknowledgement of God rather than burnt offerings. That's in Hosea 6:6.
This next paragraph is really good too. Yeah, it was made it a little simpler. In other words, if we say yes to God or anyone else when we really mean no, we move into a position of compliance, and that is just the same as lying. Our lips say yes when our hearts and often our half-hearted actions say no. So it's just like lying. You're really just. I mean, I don't know if the other people think about it that way when they kind of put you in that position.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If we say yes to God or to Eric about sherbet ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
and we really mean no because I'll get fat. I get into a position of compliance and I end up going to 7-Eleven because of where did Eric go? I haven't been looking at the. Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's back.
Well, speak of Eric.
The app must kick me out or something, but I'm back now.
Oh, okay.
There you go, a man persuaded. Oh, there you go, man. There you go, old man. The man persuaded against his will is of the same opinion still.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
A man persuaded against his will is of the same opinion still.
Mm-hmm.
That is very wise, old man. The old man. I can't take a screenshot. It'll cut me off. I like that.
I know it's perfect. That's one he says
screenshot
all the time.
Basically, so this boundary here, we can move on to the next one. I guess the disobedience.
Myth
God
number
has
3?
no interest. Yeah, myth number 3. But
okay.
To wrap this one up, God has no interest in our obeying out of fear, because fear has to do with punishment. God has no interest in our obeying out of fear, because fear has to do with punishment. 1 John 4:18. And now we're on to myth number 3.
There we go.
If I begin setting boundaries, I will be hurt by others. Usually the quiet one in her women's Bible study group, Debbie, spoke up. It's a little story I'm going to read. Usually the quiet one in her women's Bible study group, Debbie, spoke up. The topic of the evening was biblical conflict resolution. And she couldn't be silent another second. I know how to present facts and arguments, said Debbie, about my opinion in a caring way. But my husband will walk out on me if I start disagreeing. Now what do I do? Debbie's problem is shared by many. She genuinely believes in boundaries, but she is terrified out of their consequences. Is it possible that others will become angry at our boundaries and attack or withdraw from us? Absolutely. God never gave us power or the right to control how others respond to our no.
That's powerful right there.
That is. Some will welcome it, some will hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I should repeat that. It is possible that others will become angry at our boundaries and attack or withdraw from us. Is it possible? It is.
Yes.
God never gave us the power or the right to control how others respond to our no.
Mm-hmm.
Some will hate it. Jesus told, this is Matthew 19:12. It basically is where Jesus told the rich young man a hard truth about eternal life. He understood that the man worshipped money, so he told him to give it away, to make room in his heart. The results were not encouraging. When the young man heard this, he went away sad because he had great wealth. To make room in your heart, Dean and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
This is myth 3. If I begin setting boundaries, I will be hurt. I will be hurt by others. That's a myth. Where is your heart at in all of this, right? Jesus could have manipulated the situation so that it was less hard to swallow. Jesus could have said, well, how about 90%? After all, he's God, and he makes up the rules. That's true, though, right? After all, he's God. He can make up the rules, but he didn't. He knew that the young man had to know whom to worship, so he let him walk away. So that gave him a choice, to worship money or God. We can do no less.
Yeah, this is
What's that?
powerful, what you're going to say right now.
Hold on.
Get ready. It's powerful, Mike.
We can do no less. We can't manipulate people into swallowing our boundaries by sugarcoating them. Boundaries are a litmus test for the quality of our relationships. Those people in our lives who can respect our boundaries will love our wills, our opinions, and our separateness. Those who can't respect our boundaries are telling us they don't love our no, and they only love our yes, our compliance.
Our compliance. Yeah.
I highlighted that one too. What's up, Blue Rock? That's right, old man. Free will. We can do no less. We can't manipulate people into swallowing our boundaries. No sugarcoating. It's a good litmus test, and it's a good quality, and it's for the quality of our relationships that we have with other people.
Yeah, it says, don't be an ear tickler.
Yes, don't say
Don't
things
be a
just to
chronic
please.
peacemaker. If everything you say is loved by everyone, the odds
Yes.
are good
Yep.
that you're bending the truth. Don't be an ear tickler.
Right. So you got people who are always wanting to be nice, but then when you go against the grain a little bit or are at odds, they hate it. Some people hate it, or they'll respect it in a sense. Just like I respect everyone else's. It's important. I mean, it shows you who really is genuine.
Yeah, your opinion should matter to them. It shouldn't just be no. You know what I mean? It says in that next first, there is a person who welcomes your boundaries, who actually accepts them, who listens to them, who says, I'm glad you have a separate opinion. It makes me a better person. This person is called wise and righteous. The second type hates limits, resents your differences, tries to manipulate you to giving up your treasures. Trying our limitless test experiment with your significant relationships. Tell them no in some areas. You'll either come out with increased intimacy or learn that there was very little to begin with. Yeah, that's a hard test.
Amen. Wise or this person is called wise or righteous. That's true. The second one hates limits.
People.
Yep. That is very, very true. And this other one has some warnings in it when you go deeper into this particular one, and maybe that's for another subject. It has to do with divorce and stuff.
Yeah.
Bonding first, boundaries second. I didn't read that one. Why did I skip that?
I don't know. But right before that, the last paragraph, it says, will some people abandon or attack us for having boundaries? Yeah, of course they will. Better to learn about their character and take steps to fix the problem than never know.
What? Can you read that one more time?
Yeah. It says, will some people abandon or attack us for having boundaries? Yes. Better to learn about their character and take steps to fix the problem than never know. And that's right before bonding first, boundaries second.
Abandon or attack. It's better to learn someone's character and to take steps to fix the problem than to never have known. That is very, very true. I like that one. So, so this is myth 3. It on page 114, the last paragraph in the middle. It isn't wise to immediately alienate yourself from everyone important to you. Remember that you are made for relationship. You need people. You must have places where you are connected, where you are loved unconditionally. That is very true.
Yeah.
What's the next myth? If I set boundaries, I will hurt others. So 3 was, if I begin setting boundaries, I will be hurt by others. This one is, if I set boundaries, I will hurt others. If you set boundaries, you fear that your limits will injure someone else, someone you would genuinely like to see happy and fulfilled. Ain't that the truth, Dena Joe?
Yep, that's for
Like
sure.
a friend who wants to borrow your car, a relative in chronic financial straits who desperately asks for a loan, or the person who calls for support when they're in bad shape, or when you're in bad shape yourself. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
The problem is sometimes you see boundaries as often. Excuse me.
Hey, crazy lady.
The problem is sometimes you see boundaries as an offensive weapon. Nothing could be further from the truth. Boundaries are a defensive tool. Appropriate boundaries don't control or attack people or hurt anybody. They simply prevent your treasures from being taken at the wrong time. Saying no to adults who are responsible for getting their own needs met may cause some discomfort. They may have to look elsewhere, but it doesn't cause injury. This principle doesn't speak to only to those who would like to control or manipulate us. It also applies to the legitimate needs of others. Even when someone has a valid problem, there are times when we can't sacrifice for some reason or another. I like that one.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's true. I mean, something happens and that you aren't able to help them, and you still kind of feel like you're going to hurt them, but you can't do it. You still can't go past that boundaries and do it even, make yourself miserable doing something that you shouldn't have done in the first place, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we begin enforcing the boundaries
Mm-hmm.
that are critical to us with people
Yeah.
who are used to us having no boundaries, it causes issues.
Yeah.
We
I'm
we
learning that the
cannot,
hard way.
right?
And it's
It's like,
the hardest one is with family. That is like one of the hardest ones, is because you love them, but man, they do not like it when you set boundaries sometimes. It's really hard.
yeah. We just we can't allow this to cause us to open up and basically just comply with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Bible calls us to be responsible for our own selves. Um, the
And it's
individual who you believe you're hurting must find another way to have their needs met. I mean, they really do.
right, and that's what it talks about here, is having more than one person as a support group. You're not only, hi Gina, you're not only relying on your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your mom, your dad, your this, your that. You have a few, you have a handful of people in your support group that and that you can trust, and that you could go to, and that they can come to you. It's not all about giving one person all your all your stuff. You
Right.
should have
It's
more
good
of
to
a
have a good
supportive
support group.
relationship. Mm-hmm.
That's very true. That is very true, Dena Joe.
Thank you, Mike.
So, myth number 4 is, if I set boundaries, I will hurt others.
Mm-hmm.
Myth number 5, boundaries mean that I'm angry.
Oh.
Means I'm angry, Dena Joe. Yeah. Well, does it mean that you're angry?
This one was
If you
kind
set
of an
boundaries.
interesting chapter for me, because I didn't understand it at first until I got into it. Because once you get into this chapter, it's talking about the stuff that's deep down inside of you that you've never set boundaries for, that now all of a sudden you're setting boundaries for, and there's pain there, there's situations there that you kind of have to deal with. So there's anger that in the story came out of this woman because she kind of held it all in. right?
Yeah, because she just didn't have anyone else to go to. Or
Yeah, and she felt confused because she got angry and she let it all out, and she's like, what kind of a person, was what kind of a person may be the culprit of the boundaries she was setting? She was going to like, what's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? So, and it just says that it's sorry, it's no secret that quite often when people begin telling the truth, setting limits, taking responsibility, an angry cloud follows them around for a while. They become touchy and easily offended, and they discover a hair triggering temper that frightens them. Friends will make comments like, "You're not that nice, loving person I used to know." The guilt and shame caused by the remarks can further confuse new boundary setters.
very true.
Mm-hmm.
So like some negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Negative emotions. Did you just fear? Let's see. Here are some of the things negative emotions tell us. Fear tells us to move away from danger, to be careful. Sadness tells us that we've lost something, a relationship, an opportunity, or an idea. Anger is also a signal. Like fear, anger signals danger. However, rather than urging us to withdraw, anger is a sign that we need to move forward to
Mm-hmm.
confront the threat. Jesus' rage at the defilement of the temple is an example of how this feeling functions. John 2:13 through 17 talks about it. Anger tells us that our boundaries have been violated, much like a nation's radar defense system. Angrily, excuse me? Oh, hold on.
Angry
Anger,
feelings.
anger tells us that our boundaries have been violated. Much like a nation's radar defense system, angry feelings serve as an early warning system, telling us we're in danger of being injured or controlled. Fascinating.
Yeah, I never
Kind
thought
of like
about it
the
that
Iron
way.
Dome in Israel. Huh. So anger also provides us with a sense of power to solve a problem. It energizes us to protect ourselves, those we love, and our principles. In fact, a common Old Testament illustration of an angry person is someone with a with a hard breathing nose. Imagine a bull snorting and pawing and getting the steam up to attack, and you'll get the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, with all emotions, anger doesn't understand time. Anger does not understand time.
Mm-hmm.
Anger doesn't dissipate automatically. If the anger occurred 2 minutes ago or 20 years ago, it has to be worked through appropriately. Otherwise, anger simply lives inside the heart.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Isn't
That
that
is
true?
gold right there.
Yeah. And then it says this is why individuals with injured boundaries often are shocked by the rage they feel inside when they begin setting limits. This is generally not new anger, it's old anger. It's often years of no's that were never voiced, never respected, and never listened to. The protest against all the evil and violations of our souls set inside us, waiting to tell their truths. So they come out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anger does not understand time. That's fascinating. I really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. It doesn't go away if the danger occurred a minute ago or years ago. That's deep. That's very deep. Because I used to have an anger issue way back in the day. I used to get mad easily and allowed things to just upset me. And it just sat in there for a long
Yeah.
time, and I would act out. I would get in fights all the time. I would, um,
Yeah, you hold it all in and then all of a sudden you explode.
yeah, I just become somebody that I'm not.
Yeah.
And, and it's just, it took me, a good year or so to really kind of really wrestle with that issue I had, because it was from the past, things that I was at conflict with in myself. I was a very shy person. I was upset that I was like a yes man, I guess. I was always, or I was just compliant sometimes. But I get it kind of went against my nature, to be honest. But you know, that makes a lot of sense now that I'm
Mm-hmm.
reading this out loud. Fascinating. Dina, do you want to take?
No, instead of beating yourself up all the time because you think that
We
that
should
you're
interact with
doing
the
something wrong,
right. So we are on number 5, which is boundaries mean that I am angry. And what that goes to number 6, when others set boundaries, it injures me. Do you want to maybe read that or kind of summarize that, and I'll check into that one? That
Yeah, which one? Number 6?
Yeah, number 6. Or if you got anything more to say on number 5.
Well, let me see. And boundaries just decrease anger. This brings us to an important point about anger. The more biblical our boundaries are, the less anger we experience. Individuals with mature boundaries are least angry people in the world, while those who are just beginning boundary work see their anger increase through passing. Increase this passes as boundaries grow and develop. You become less angry. Because you work through all of the that stuff that you were holding in. So the next one is myth number 6: when others set boundaries, it injures me. um, and let's see, it has a couple, it tells a little story, but it says, first, having inappropriate boundaries set on us can injure us, especially in childhood. A parent can hurt a child by not providing the correct amount of emotional connection at the appropriate time. Children's emotional and psychological needs are primarily the responsibility of the parents. The younger child, the fewer places he or she can go to get those needs met. A self centered, immature, or dependent parent can hurt a child by saying no at the wrong time. And then it talks about a story about Robert in his earliest memories of being a child and being in his crib alone for hours. And his parents would just leave him there. And it talked about how he became really depressed as a little infant. And then how
Infant
it
depression?
just, yeah, that's what it says.
Oh my
Actually,
God.
he had moved past crying to infant depression. There is no created a deep sense of being unwanted, which followed him into adulthood. So that it affected how he then responded to his daughter. So that was the first one. And then it says, second, we project our own injuries onto others. When we feel pain, we respond our way, sorry. When we feel pain, one response is to disown the bad feeling and throw it onto others. This is called projection. Quite often, people who have been hurt by inappropriate child boundaries will throw their fragility onto others. Sensing their own pain in others, they will avoid setting limits on others as they imagine how devastating it would be to them. And that's what he's talking about, Robert, how he remembered being a child, and now when his daughter wants to go to bed and she doesn't want to go to bed because she wants to have another story and another song and this and that, and he feels like, I'm a bad parent if I don't do this because that's what my parents did to me.
Kathy's dependence on her husband, and emotional well-being rested on his being there for her at all times. He was to have provided everything that her own alcoholic parents hadn't. When he had a bad day and withdrew, her own was a disaster. Fascinating. Well, that's myth 6. When others set boundaries, it injures me. Whether we've been hurt by others with inappropriate boundaries, hurting others as a result of prior pain, substituting another person for God and expecting them to always be available to you, or an inability to take responsibility for your own life because others are expected to. All of these reasons lead to believing that when other people set boundaries, it hurts you. It's all, however, a matter of perspective that needs to be adjusted after setting our own healthy boundaries. Yes. Wow, that is a big one. Myth 7. Boundaries cause feelings of guilt. Colossians 2:7. Let your roots grow down into him, and let your lives be built on him. Then your faith will grow strong in the truth where you were taught, and you will overflow with thankfulness. Quid pro quo is a Latin phrase that means this for that. Sounds familiar? And is a nearly perfect illustration of the guilty feelings associated with setting
Hi,
boundaries
Bella.
by some. There is an underlying message in the gift being given that we owe that individual something back. This, in fact, is not a gift. When nothing is expected back, but gratitude is appreciated, when nothing is expected back, but gratitude is appreciated, that is when it's a gift, when it's appreciated. There are individuals who only give to receive something in return. These individuals should be avoided in regards to an unwanted exchange of obligation and guilt. Their gift is a loan in disguise. Ain't that something? As soon as I want parents. The idea is because we have received something and we owe something. I'm on 123 in the middle. The problem is
that's a hard one that you have to take. Yeah, you
the
receive something, so you
idea-
have to give something back.
Right. It's like we owe something. So that's the idea, I guess. The problem is the non-existent debt. The love we receive, or money, or time, or anything which causes us to feel obligated, should be accepted as a gift. Gift implies no strings attached. All that's really needed is gratitude. The giver has no second thought that the present will provide a return. It is simply provided because someone loved someone and wanted to do something for him or her, period. The act. That's beautiful. Well, that is how God views his gift of salvation to us. Let me repeat that. Gift implies no strings attached. All that's really needed is gratitude. The giver has no second thought that the present will provide a return. It was simply provided because someone loved someone and wanted to do something for him or her, period.
Period. Yeah.
Period.
And that's where that's what we should think, that, when we receive a gift, we shouldn't be thinking what that other person's, why are they giving this to me? Are they giving it to me because of this, that, or whatever? We should say thank you, and that's it. It's nothing more than that, period.
Yeah. It goes on to talk about that is how God views his gift of salvation to us. It cost him his son. It was motivated out of love for us, and our response is to receive it and to be grateful. Why is gratitude so important? Because God knows that our gratitude for what he has done for us will move us to love others, as you were taught, and overflowing with thankfulness. Colossians 2:7. Why is gratitude important, Dena Joe? Because God knows that our gratitude for what he has done for us will move us to love others. Now, that is just like a love letter almost. It's amazing.
Yeah, it says, what do we owe those who are kind to us, who are genuinely cared for us? We owe them thanks. From our grateful heart, we should go out and help others. We should do the same as they did for us to others. Show that same type of love to somebody else.
Is it just me or is Eric really quiet today?
I'm mostly muted. I was having to update a couple of apps in the background, but
You were eating sherbet, weren't you, Eric?
I don't have any trouble. Sorry.
The only crazy lady.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, dude, because I just came from the store and I bought orange sherbet.
Orange
How
man
funny.
bad sherbet, I bet. That's my favorite.
Standing in the
How are
ice
you?
cream aisle. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. Orange man bad sherbet, really? What is
It's like that whole pay it forward kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? See, that's why I like the concept of random acts of kindness. I'm a big
Absolutely.
encourager of that, you know? And I had people go, what do you mean random acts of kindness? I mean, and I couldn't believe I had to explain. I was like, well, you do something for someone you don't even know, or they don't even know you did it. You just do it, you know, because you know it'll
Right.
help someone, you know,
Mhm.
or whatever, you know. That's what, you know, I think that, you know, the creator wanted, you know, all of us, you know, to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's, you know,
Yeah, it's like you're not obligated to have to love him or worship him or even know him, I guess, you know, and
yeah,
you know, he just gives without the expectation of us acknowledging him or anything. I mean, we can just say that's just I just have that, you know, it's just me, and
yeah.
that's fine.
That's like, you know, that's like if, like, say someone lived next door to me, right? And I had 2 loaves of bread and they didn't have any loaves of bread, okay? And I know they ain't got no loaves of bread. I'd go and I'd give them that other loaf. Why? Well, because they ain't got one. You know, I don't want them starving. You know,
Right.
yeah.
That's genuine. That's genuine, actual like selflessness. That's in a way, look, we were talking about being a steward of your boundaries,
Yeah.
but yet you do it out of love, which requires nothing in return.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
except
you
for
know,
you just love others. Pass it forward.
Yeah, yesterday after kickout, I think it was like, what, 8 or 9 tents we packed up. There's still good tents that were left behind by people. And today when me and Mom went in town, we delivered in down to one of the shelter places, the food bank,
Yeah.
to give them out to the, you know, homeless people.
Yeah.
You know, I do that.
You have a good heart there, the only crazy lady.
Yeah.
I'll just call you
Well,
lady.
And that's
I
what we
calling you
need.
crazy.
Oh no, I'm a crazy lady. Trust me, believe that.
The only lady. You're like, trust me, I'm crazy. You're like, you don't want to find out, but yeah, I'm crazy. No, yeah. Well, crazy lady, we have our last myth, number 8, in this. And it's ending our part 1 on what are boundaries and common boundary myths. Number 8 is boundaries are permanent, and I'm afraid of burning my bridges. This is a myth that boundaries are permanent, and I'm afraid of burning my bridges.
No, they're not permanent.
No.
Right?
It says it is
important.
it is important to understand that your no is always subject to you. You are your own boundaries. They don't own you. If you set limits with someone and she responds maturely and lovingly, you can renegotiate that boundaries. In addition, you can change the boundary if you are in a safer place. So yeah.
Dang, that is
Never
so
permanent.
heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to understand that your no is always subject to you. I like that.
Yeah.
No, like parents, you know. You tell kids, no, you can't go outside after dark. Are you crazy? No. But they grow older, you know,
Yeah.
develop a better brain. They say, well, you know.
A little more responsible. Yeah.
A better brain. Sometimes I wonder, you know. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. Like you
Yeah, that
own
goes
that
with
boundary. You're in control of
yeah,
it, right? Like you own that. Like you can decide whether to redefine it, I guess.
yeah.
Or as it says after what you just read, Dina, changing and renegotiating boundaries has many biblical precedents. God chose not to destroy Nineveh, for example, when this city repented, which is talked about in Jonah 3:10. In addition, John Paul rejected John Mark for a mission trip because the younger man had deserted Paul, which is in Acts 15. Yet years later, Paul requested John Mark's companionship in 2 Timothy 4:11. The timing was ripe to change this boundary.
Hmm.
As you probably have noticed, some of these myths are genuine misconceptions you may have learned from distorted teachings, yet others simply result from the fear of standing up and saying no to unbiblical responsibility. Prayerfully review which myths are entangled and ensnared, which ones have ensnared you. Search the scripture mentioned in this chapter and ask God to give you a sense of confidence that He believes in good boundaries more than you do. Boom. That is nice. That is beautiful. What
Yeah.
do we owe those who are kind to us, who
A
have
thank you.
genuinely cared for us,
A big hug.
right? We owe them thanks. And
Hmm.
from our grateful
Gratitude.
heart, we should go out and help others. Gratitude heart with gratitude. Hello, Nana St. Pete. How are you,
Hmm.
Nana St. Pete? I like that one a lot. What do we owe those who are kind to us, who have genuinely cared for us? Like my mom. My mom is for years. She's an amazing mother. We owe them thanks. Thank you, Mom. And our grateful heart, we should go out and help others. That is nice. Out of the abundance of the heart, Dina Joe, the mouth speaks.
Hi, Radio Project.
Any thoughts? Anyone want to? We have. Eric, it's 59 past.
I don't know if
Welcome, Big Gun.
Jimmy would want to call in, or if he wants to come back next week.
Yeah, whichever. I didn't. Oh, I did get a notification down here. Yeah, Jimmy missed a call, and the only crazy lady, which she's right up here. Anything you want to add, crazy lady? Any of these myths you can relate to or have seen in other people or?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've had boundaries that I like pushed and pushed and pushed, because and because the person that I had set that boundary for, like showed responsibility or whatever, you know,
They
and
got like myth one. If you set boundaries, that's being
yeah,
selfish. That's a myth. Myth two: boundaries are a sign of disobedience. That's a myth. Boundaries number three: if I begin setting boundaries, I will be hurt by others. And the fourth myth: if I set boundaries, I will hurt others. And the fifth myth: boundaries mean that I am angry. And we have the sixth one. Myth number 6: when others set boundaries, it injures me. Number 7: boundaries cause feelings of guilt. And myth number 8: boundaries are permanent, and I'm afraid of burning my bridges. That is a myth. Own your boundaries. You control those boundaries. Dina Joe, any thoughts for wrapping up?
No, I
Chapter
just think
6.
that, once you look at all those and after you say them, they're just lies to try to keep us from setting boundaries in the first place. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah.
So it all holds us back from trying to set those boundaries that we so badly need to take care of ourselves in order to take care of other people. So it's good learning this. It really is. But the hardest thing for me is I have to say with my family, because they are hi Scooter, so anti against boundaries, man. I try to set stuff and they just attack. They attack, so I guess I just need to have those up until it's a safer place. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Boundaries are not permanent, and we should not be afraid of burning bridges.
Yeah.
In Jonah 3:10, when God saw what they had done and how they had put a stop to their evil ways, he changed his mind and did not carry out the destruction he had threatened. Jonah 3:10. Thank you, the only crazy lady, for calling. Eric, is there any upcoming shows you would like to plug, sir?
Well, coming up on Podbean Live this evening, you have like Scooter and Spanky doing the Beans and Weenies show in their new time of 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The Slightly Serious show will not be on at its normal time tonight unless it's a late night impromptu show. Otherwise, he'll be back Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Then you've got the Ralph William podcast. He's on weekday mornings, but around 7 and 8 a.m. Eastern, and that'll of course be followed by the Old Man's podcast with Dena, Joe, and Eric. That's on weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, plus the Friday Night Music Show Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern. And then you've also got John DeVito, hopefully looking into possibly doing a show either tomorrow or Thursday after the Old Man's podcast. So definitely be on the lookout for that. The Frankie D Show, Wednesday and Friday around 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Slack and other great podcast shows include Slack 82 Alpha and Chris Unplugs Club 19, the It's Doomsday podcast, the Terfy Show, the Dude Sean Show, and other great names like Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea and Linga Longa, A Day in the Life of Me, and Lyra and Lou's Communication Station, and many other great friends.
Well, thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. I'm going to end this show with a song. It's a new song that just came out. I think it's very fitting. Thank you, Dena Joe. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Eric. You two are amazing.
Thank you, Mike.
I love y'all very much. I'm saying it
Bye.
with like a southern twang. I don't know why I am, but I don't know if you picked up on that or not. But here's this song by Jordan Smith, Don't Quit. It's a new song. Came out 3 weeks ago. I love you guys, and this is it for Boundaries episode 6. Thank you.
Love you. God bless you. See you next time.
All right.
Let's be real, 'cause I'm tired of hiding everything I feel. Let's be honest. Do you really want to hear what I'm about to reveal? I'm angry, I'm afraid that God won't look at me the same. Oh, and I'm desperate. I've gotta know that I'm not the only one who feels this way. Kings feel it, beggars and thieves feel it, that down on my knees feel it. You wanna give up, you wanna shut down, you wanna let go, you wanna check out. But don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you quit. Dig deep. I'm gonna walk through muddy waters, even if it's just to see. I'm human, I'm afraid that God won't look at me the same. Oh, and I'm desperate. I've gotta know that I'm not the only one who feels this way. Kings feel it, beggars and thieves feel it, that down on my knees feel it. You wanna give up, you wanna shut down, you wanna let go, you wanna check out. But don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you quit. Don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you quit. Take this cup from me. Even the King of Kings fell to his knees and he cried, take this cup from me. Even the perfect one was desperate to be free when he cried, take this cup from me. Even the King of Kings felt it just like me.
Wow, what a voice.
That down on my knees feeling. You wanna give up, you wanna shut down, you wanna let go.
Thank you everyone for joining Sounders episode 6. Tune in next week, episode 7. 5 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Mountain Time. Love you, Dena. Love you, Eric.
Bye, Mike. Love you
And
too.
thank you everyone for joining.
See you next time, everybody. Thank you to
Bye,
all who
Eric.
joined
Have a
us.
good
We'll
day.
see you next time.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Don't you quit.
I almost don't want to quit the show because he said that.